Jawbreaker, Part 2. The planet Jawbreaker. Exterior. The cameras floated toward a rectangular structure in the center courtyard. A great hall. Various Morp filed in like they were showing up for Sunday church. Yachty's drones followed them inside. Interior, an amphitheater full of Morp farmers listened to a speaker in the center circle. Purple, plump, and a little Lovecraftian, the speaker gestured at the audience passionately, while Adam read the subtitles from the AI.
Brothers, sisters, we gather under this moon in the dust of terrible attacks from the nomads. They still follow the herds, and now they are here, in our land. How can we protect ourselves from such savagery?
Pray! Pray to the moon god!
Shouted one from the back. A few of them cheered.
Yes, pray!
You can pray if that makes you feel better, yes.
Purple walked in a slow circle, addressing the crowd in sections.
But don't force your prayers on the rest of us. That is why we war and die. How many must we lose to who has the better God? Please also listen to reason. Since we have found a way to grow our food, we have created many things by working together. Vessels for our bounty, tools to plow our fields, channels to bring us water. For generations, those who roam the plains and worship the gods have known nothing but bloodshed and war and dominance. We say enough. We say we don't have to live like that anymore. We can use our minds and reason and move beyond these ancient fears.
The Morp cheered. They danced and celebrated until a larger, more melted one with large breasts raised her gummy hands to quiet them.
Reason over fear.
Adam clicked pause. He tagged the video clip with metadata and clicked submit. The AI was right. It was a good moment to flag. The agricultural Morp were matriarchal and much further along than the visuals alone suggested. In his report, he expanded on the struggle between the agricultural Morp and the hunter-gatherers to impress Eva. He consulted the AI and compared the purple Morp speaker to Thomas Paine and wondered how it all might unfold. As a democracy, and with the Thomas Paine Morp, he copied from the AI and pasted into his report like he wrote it, the farmers tend to prioritize rationality and practicality, seeking out ways to improve their lives through invention. By contrast, the hunter-gatherers are more focused on preserving traditions and maintaining connections with the past, leading them to overlook the opportunities for progress. Overall, the conflict between these two groups underscores the importance of balancing tradition and progress to achieve sustainable development and growth. He added, revolution. Will the agricultural Morp with their inventions and reasons prevail? Or will the religious hunter-gatherers sweep over the plain like Mongols and overwhelm them? She didn't read the report. That night, after a tuna melt sandwich in the cafeteria, Adam settled in for his shift in room 14 and watched the conclusion of a 100-year agri-hunter war on the monitors. It didn't look good for the farmers in the early stages. The hunters swarmed into their villages with spears and rocks. They set fires and pillars of smoke whispered from the landscape. But the farmers unleashed a water trap. With a lot of digging and ingenious civil engineering, they had rerouted a few of their aqueducts to fill hidden tanks balanced strategically on selected rooftops. And when the hunters entered the kill zone, lookouts gave the signal, wildly waving arms, and torrents of water swept the invading Morp back into the fields beyond their village. From the drone's vantage points, it looked like someone poured a large bucket of grape juice on a train set and tilted it. Wiggling, disoriented, and floundering in the receding waters, the invaders were easy targets for the farmers' spears and slings, which now rained from windows and rooftops and balconies. The invaders withered under the barrage and retreated to the plains in scattered, screaming squads. Adam cheered. He'd grown fond of the farmers, watching them scrape a home from the rocks and weeds and grow into a little industrious community. And from that night on, The hunter-gatherer tribes steered clearer of the farmers' lands and receded to the dark jungles and deserts. He watched the farmer Morp carry buckets of water from the river and dance around blue bonfires. They were quite fond of music, which the AI compared to Japanese koto drummers in his report. Over the next few nights, Adam watched the Morp civilization flourish in time-elapse while listening to their music in his earbuds. They bloomed over the terrain, working furiously. He watched them build cities and send trade ships like toys down the rivers to the wild, white oceans. The Morp are advancing at an exponential rate, wrote Adam in his report. While there are many similarities to our Greco-Roman development, there is one major difference. The Morp seem to have completely abandoned religion. There are no temples or scriptures that we can observe. The AI has concluded that we can attribute their rapid development 3 times faster than humans to a lack of barriers born from ancient mythology and fears. He gave some Earth examples of these barriers: astronomy, dissection, heliocentrism, genetics, mental health, evolution, wars, contraception, stem cell research, vaccines. He started speculating wildly at where the Morp might be in 2 weeks, but the approach of their imminent doom in the containment cloud pulled his thoughts to cold waters. He suggested that they should help the Morp. Eva perused the report but didn't have time to respond because she was going to Puerto Vallarta that weekend. She let her out-of-office reply. Back in his black lacquer apartment, Adam tossed in bed. The sunlight and the happy birds beyond his mini blinds stirred a feeling inside like he was missing something, a chance encounter, an ice cream truck. And when he finally slipped into REM sleep, a recurring dream about his mom washed in. She was there with him, on the beach like always. She loved the beach and took him nearly every weekend while Dad got his PhD. The beach was empty and it felt immense in its gritty light. They planted their blankets and chairs on the edge of the wet sand, where the waves hissed up and left a satin mirror. She sat next to him in one of those old metal beach chairs with the cross-patch fabric, plaid. Salty and sandy, he lay on his stomach on the blanket next to her. The sun warmed his skin, and he smelled coconut oil, and the coastal wind buffeted them in gusts and sharpened the seagulls' cries. After a time, he cracked his eyes open and watched her cinematically tilted toward the sun, quarter profile. Light from the edge of creation glowed on her face, and she looked biblical sitting there, pleasantly smiling in the beach wind that wrapped them. She winked at him. She's dead, he thought. And as that uncomfortable recognition scuttled to the surface, he heard the sky open. It sounded like a porpoise swimming in a turbine and screaming. He looked in its direction and saw darkness spawn in the clouds, a black disk that sent acidic terror through his blood, a black hole. Adam screamed to his mother, but she couldn't hear him. She just kept staring at the sunset with that pleasant smile. Mom! The disk expanded at a supernatural speed, filling the horizon, and it started vacuuming everything into its black turbine maw. The edge of the planet, the clouds, the ocean, the birds, the ships, the pier. And when he felt it tugging him off that blanket, he screamed and woke. Room 14. Over the next few days, Adam and the boys watched the Morp's ship sail across the planet's oceans. He got a text from his father on Tuesday. Let's have lunch. Sure. For morale and productivity, the Area 51 facilities team did their best to dress up the cafeteria with live plants and corporate art, but there's only so much you can do with cinder block. Adam and his father ate in silence. He's wearing his brown suit today, he thought. You see that opening on the Cirrus project? Father stabbed the steamed broccoli floret. I think I saw something about that, said Adam, but I've actually been thinking about that marine biology college in Miami. They said a lot of my biology courses would actually transfer. Father sighed hard and sat back. Then he snapped forward and spoke in that angry, hushed tone. This again? Jesus, you know how many scientists would give their left arm to work here? And you're just going to throw away everything you've done? He lectured Adam for another 6 minutes about how lucky he was. I know, Dad. He trembled and hated it. I just really want to live somewhere nice. I see. So making something of yourself doesn't matter anymore, and neither does retirement, apparently. You know how much marine biologists make compared to us? Another 3 minutes about money. I know, but I'll make enough. Enough, said Father. That's great. That's what your mother and I worked so hard for. Enough. Adam sent him a text on Father's Day and drove to work. By then, Jawbreaker was covered in hazy modern cities with internet and spacecraft. The boys marveled at how cool they looked streaming around their solar system. Adam said their spacecraft reminded him of bioluminescent jellyfish. Yeah. But the greatest boon for the boys was the mass media broadcasts they picked up on the receivers. Manders routed the transmissions to the AI for tagging, sorting, reporting, and archiving. And soon, the AI gave them Morp news highlights, flagged and rendered like a news montage each morning. Adam used these highlights for most of his reports as depression and summer thinned his blood to 80 proof lazy. Room 14. A week later. Adam strolled in 20 minutes late and found Yachty still there, sitting at the table they dragged in from the cafeteria. Yachty looked up, his forehead a creased mesa. We have a problem. Very big. What? They know. About what? 2 nights ago, the AI flagged a theory from one of their top mathematicians and astronomer. Brilliant. He published a study about M64 unnatural containment. I think they laugh at first, but last night they launched a deep space telescope, like Webb. Did they see the glass? No, but they see a containment field cloud, and they know the dimensions and timeline given their expansion. Christ, Adam's mind raced. What are they doing now? Searching. For what? I do not know. I think they keep secret, so others don't panic. On the scope, Adam watched the Morp spaceship, now much more advanced and beautiful, arc around M64. He could see their bioluminescent light trails zip into space like supersonic flying fish. When he realized the Morp were interstellar, he felt humbled and a little frightened. They were more advanced than humans. When would they see him? But he couldn't look away. Sadness saturated him while he watched their seeking light trails. What are they looking for? He called Dixon. Absolutely not. Dixon dropped his phone and picked it back up, fumbling. Look, there is nothing we can do. You are to observe, understand? But we put them in there. Aren't we obligated to at least try? Son, these things happen. It's a consequence of science. You know the protocol just like I do. You are not to intentionally intervene or put us on their radar in any way, or it'll be a problem. Copy? Yes, sir. They had a good run. Adam couldn't sleep the next day, and it wasn't the sunlight. He kept thinking about those sad spaceships floating around and ways that he could save them, all futile. He wondered if they were slamming into the glass like confused birds. He didn't want to go back to work that night and watch them vaporize in the lightning. But he couldn't just abandon them, and after much scheming, he resolved to get a message to the Morp, to let them know about the tank, about how much time they had. They were way smarter. Maybe they could figure something out, something he couldn't even consider. He clambered out of bed and went to work early. Room 14. Manders was there, but he fell asleep on the couch they borrowed from the elevator vestibule. Adam hurried in quietly and put his eye on the scope. Right away, he noticed there were no more spaceships zooming around. Not a single one. Anywhere. He scanned the Jawbreaker's coordinates and stopped. He pulled his eye off the scope's rubber lens, popping its light suction. They're gone. He crashed over to the monitor wall and checked the AI report. On his dashboard, a recording file flashed in crimson. It read, "Major incident." Adam pressed play. Exterior. Space. A wall of clouds loomed over an armada of Morp spaceships like a tidal wave in suspension. The fleet gathered around an immense mothership that reminded Adam of a blue whale, with bands of mercurial lights, blinking antennae, and a quantum centrifuge hood. The other Morp ships look insect scale in comparison to this Goliath. It just idled there, rumbling. No! Adam thought they were about to push into the cloud. He wanted to bang on the monitor to push them back, away from the containment field. But what he saw next numbed him. On the center stage of space, just off the mothership's bow, he saw a darkness spawn against the black, like a manta ray breaking the water's surface under a starless sky. He pulled back and realized there were two of them, black disks churning. Their gargantuan accretion disks spun into each other as dark color dyes poured into a maelstrom. Space warped there like a witch's fingers gathering the fabric from the other side. Holy shit! Twin singularities! Adam shouting startled Manders off the couch. For several minutes the boys watched the mothership nose up to the event horizons. What the hell are they doing? I don't know, shut up! The mothership raised her bow slightly and fired a pulse from one of her forward guns. Whoa, cried the boys in unison. A beam of red light arced toward the outer edge of the starboard accretion disk at near light speed. Like yarn fed to a vacuum, it spun, a brilliant red laser. And when it got to 360 degrees, it crossed tracks to figure 8 around the port side disk, blue shifting as it welded space. Holy! The beam of light scorched into the center apex and opened a portal like a lotus flower. In the center of the blooming tear, they saw the stars and the nebula of another galaxy. Stone still with goosebumps, the boys watched the Morp mothership flare her engines and gently glide toward the wormhole. The rest of her armada followed suit like pilot fish. And as the last Morp ship dove in, the portal went supernova and vanished. The boys cheered and high-fived and hugged and paced. Manders kept saying, "Holy shit!" Adam cheered along, but he couldn't believe the surge of tears building in his chest like a kettle. He hid this feeling well with "fuck yeah" and other bravado, but a tear still slipped through now and then. A montage of the Morp paraded across his mind stage, dancing, sailing, flying, escaping. He quickly wiped them away. They went their own way, said his inner father. Not his dad's voice, but his own. A voice that soon would come into this world. A voice that had been growing in him and got him out of bed, back to work, out for a run. He let him stare at the monitors for a moment, at the patch of space where the Morp had been before they defied everything. The black holes stared back at him, churning, eternal. They drew him in, and it felt like looking in a mirror without the lights on. And though those black orbs resembled the sockets of his skull staring back at him, he felt a warm comfort thinking about their escape, his mother's touch. Adam resigned from his post at Area 51 and let the screen door slam on his father's shouted curses. He drove away. He drove to Florida in an old pickup truck he found online. With some savings and a few loans, he attended a master's program at the Rosenthal School of Marine and Atmospheric Science at the University of Miami. On the night his father called, he was at his girlfriend's apartment in Marathon, a yellow bread box on Sombrero Beach. He sat on the balcony and watched the surf as he spoke into his phone. She slept inside. You think it holds water? It was Adam's thesis about a phenomenon called fluorescence, where jellyfish absorb light at one wavelength and emit it in another. That phenomenon, Adam maintained, could work as signals and help detect life on other planets. Analyzing the light reflected off a planet's surface, wrote Adam, we could look for specific patterns of fluorescence that are indicative of biological activity. It's pretty interesting, I have to say, said his father. Thanks. An uncomfortable pause. The waves rushed in. Look, his father shifted gears. The great evenings alone, the TV dinners, and the refrigerator pump in the still kitchen had ground his sand enough to reflect. I said some mean stuff to you back there, you know, when you left. I'm sorry about that. I was scared when your mom died. I didn't know what to do. It's okay, Dad. Anyway, I'm proud of you. Adam walked to the thundering surf after the call. It beckoned him, like a gathering of friends in the near distance. His shirt flapped wildly, a bright flag. In the surf, the waves whispered up and iced his feet in the soft mirror sand. He walked in the wind and thought about what his father said. He smiled to himself peacefully and looked at the Atlantic under the night sky. Bioluminescent plankton floated on the ocean surface, like fireflies under the vault of stars.